Hello and welcome to Minstrel's Heart Music. My name is Eko Binti Encho, and in today's lesson we will be learning about the musical notes and everything in between. That is the white notes, half steps and whole steps, sharps and flats, and the black notes. So stay tuned. But before I do, like I promised, I want to share a quick scripture. This verse has to do with the power available to you as a church musician, and it's taken from 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 15. And it says, "And now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass that when the minstrel played, the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah." And the meaning of the verse is that as a church musician, you have the power to bring down the presence of God to help the minister preach. And that should be your aim as a church musician. Okay, so in music theory, there are 7 musical notes, and they follow the letters of the alphabet. And I hope you know your alphabet. I'll sing the song A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The first 7 letters of the alphabet, A to G, are the 7 musical notes. So I always start with C. If you look at the black keys, you'll see that they occur in repeating patterns of 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. And look closely at the groups of 2. You can see that every C is positioned right before every group of 2. I'll repeat that. Every C on the keyboard is positioned before every group of 2 black keys. So if I have a group of 2 black keys, the C is right before that group of 2 black keys. Alright, so with that knowledge, I'm sure you can identify more C's. So let's look at how it looks on the keyboard. I look for a group of 2 black keys. Then the white note right before it is C. I look for another group of 2 black keys. The white note before it, the name of the white note is C. I can go here. I can go low. And so that is C. And like with the progression of the alphabet, the musical notes on the keyboard follow the same orders. So what is after C? D. So starting from C, the next note is D. And the next note is E. And the next note is F. And the next note is G. And the next note is A. Remember I said that the musical notes follow the letters of the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So that is A to G. After G, it repeats itself. It goes back to A. So after G is A. And what's after A? That's right, B. And after B is C. Another way that may help you to remember is the same way I taught you that C starts before the 2 black keys. F starts right before the group of 3 black keys. Okay, so I'm giving you 2 anchor positions. Number 1 is C. C starts right before the group of 2 black keys. And F starts right before the group of 3 black keys. And those are the white notes. Half steps and whole steps are just ways to describe distance on the piano. So moving from one place to another on the piano, we call it a step. And there are 2 types of steps, half steps and whole steps. So a half step is when you move from one note to the next without any key in between. I'll repeat that. A half step is when you move from one note to the next without any key, any note in between. So how does that look like on the piano? Supposing I begin on C. How can I move from this note to the next note in such a way that I leave no key behind? I skip no key. That would be the notes right next to it. This one. We don't need to know what it is yet, but you just need to understand the concept of moving from one note to the next. So let me give you another note, D. Moving a half step up would be moving from this to the next note such that I'm not skipping any note. There's no note in between, and which is this. As you can see, there's no note in between D and this note. I know you're getting the hang of this, so let's do more. If I start on this note, how can I move so that there's no key in between? I'll be moving here. Can you remember what note this is? It's an A. Alright, so if I'm here and I want to move a half step up, I'll move here. If I'm here and I want to move a half step up, I would move here. So hopefully you are getting the hang of this. If you have further questions, just shoot me a comment in the comment box below. Okay, so whole steps. A whole step is just 2 half steps. Why? Because 2 halves make a whole. 2 halves make a whole. So a whole step is just 2 half steps. So how does that look like on the piano? Let's start from C. What would it look like to move 2 half steps up from C? Well, let me start with the first half step, moving up so that there's no note in between, and then from here, moving up again so that there's no note in between. That means from C to this note, D, there are 2 half steps, making 1 whole step. Therefore, from C to D is a whole step. Let me take you through that again. It's from C. You move 1 half step up, then another half step up. And notice that when I say up, I do not mean up. I mean to the right of the keyboard. And when I say down, I mean to the left of the keyboard. Okay, when I say up, I'm talking about higher pitches, because when you go up, things sound higher. When you go down, things sound lower. Alright? So see, moving up 1 half step is this note, and moving up another half step is this note. Therefore, moving 2 half steps from C is to go to D. Let's try it from D. Move 1 half step up, move another half step up. Therefore, if I'm here and I want to move 2 half steps, where do I go? E. I'll be getting the hang of it. Let me show you a trickier one. Let's start from, you should know this note by now, or okay, no pressure. You can watch this video many times so that you get a hang of the notes. So from here, this is B. If I wanted to move a whole step, I just count 2 half steps. So half step 1. How do I move so that there's no note in between? From here, where do I move to so that there's no note in between? Correct. So that means from here to here is a whole step. I'll take that again. From B, if I want to move a whole step up, then I have to move 2 half steps up, because 2 half steps is 1 whole step. So my first half step I'm here. I want to move to the next note such that there's no note in between this note and the next note. And that is this note. Because you see, there's no note in between here. Now from here, I also want to move up so that there's no note between this note and the next note. And that will be here. See, there's no note between the two. Therefore, if I'm starting from B, to move a whole step or 2 half steps is to move to this note. And that is what a whole step is. 2 half steps. So let's do a few exercises to get it in your memory. If I am on this note, how should I move so that there are 2 half steps or 1 whole step? Let's just count the half steps. From here, you go here, and then from here, you go here. And that is 2 half steps or 1 whole step. So a whole step from here is here. If I am here, 1 whole step, count my half steps, 1, another half step, 2, making 1 whole step. Therefore, from here to here is a whole step. The next one is for you to try. From here, where is 1 whole step up from this key, this note? I'm waiting for you. Giving you 5 more seconds. You guessed it right. It is a C. So hopefully you are beginning to familiarize yourself with the musical notes, half steps, whole steps, and now we are going to get into sharps and flats. You will notice that the style of my teaching is to give you a definition and see how it applies. So, what is the definition of a sharp? A sharp is when you move up from 1 note by a half step. So how does that look like on the piano? Starting from C, if I want to sharp C or sharpen C, I move up by 1 half step, which is this note. So we can call this note C sharp. Why? Because when I was in C and I sharpened it, I got to this note. So this is called C sharp. Same for D. If I want to sharpen D, I just move it up by a half step, and which becomes D sharp. So this note is called D sharp. I can give you another one. If I'm here and I want to sharpen this note, I just raise it up by a half step, which becomes this. So this is G sharp. Now, a flat is the opposite of a sharp, meaning if I raised a note by a half step for a sharp, I am lowering a note by a half step for a flat. So I'm going down for flats. Starting from C, if I want to flat C, I just move down by a half step, which is B. So that means I can even call B C flat because I get B by flattening C. I hope you're getting the hang of it. If I'm on E, I want to flatten E, I go back by a half step. So this note is called E flat. If I'm on D, now to flatten the note, I move down by a half step, giving me D flat. Okay. So one of the things you should know is that even a white note can be called a flat or a sharp. That's why when I gave you B, I said that it can also be called C flat because it can be obtained by lowering C by a semitone. So I can call B B. I can also call it C flat. Okay. And so now that we know half steps and whole steps and sharps and flats, we can finally begin to systematically name the black notes. So let's take this. What note is this? To name this note, we need to look at the white notes that are immediately before and after it. So in the case of this note, we have C before it and D after it. I repeat, step 1. When you have a black note, look at the notes, the white notes that are right before and after it. So that is C and D. Okay? Step 2. Name it in terms of either a sharp or a flat. Okay? So if I have C, if I sharpen it, I get C sharp. So this note can be called C sharp, right? But look at D. When I flatten D, I get D flat. So this note can also be called D flat. And that's not a bad thing. We can give it 2 names. My name is Echo Binti Intro. I have 2 names. You probably also have 2 names. So why can't a blackie have 2 names, right? So this note is called either C sharp or D flat, depending on where you are looking at it from. And this will be very important when we move on to scales and chords and intervals, because theoretically the name is very important. So let me reiterate that first, when you have the note, you look at the notes, the white notes right before and after. So in this case, C and D. And then you name the notes, the black notes that you are identifying, relative to those white notes. So relative to C, this note is sharpened. And relative to D, this note is flattened. Alright? Relative to C, this note is sharpened. So this is a C sharp. Relative to D, this note is flattened. So this is also a D flat. So we can call this C sharp or D flat. So let's try with a different black note. Step 1, look at the notes immediately before and after it. D, E. Step 2, name the note relative to the notes, the white notes immediately before and after it. This is D. Relative to this is sharpened, right? I'm going up by a half step. So D sharp. Relative to this note is flattened, because I have to flat this to get to here. So this can also be called E flat. So this is D sharp or E flat. D sharp or E flat. Let's try it again. What is step 1? Find the 2 notes immediately before and after. F, G. Step 2. Name the note relative to the white note immediately before and after. So relative to F, this note is sharpened. So we can call it F sharp. But relative to G, this note is flattened. So we can call this G flat. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this. So I will give you homework. What is the name of this? Think of it. What is step 1? And what is step 2? And so what is the note? Well, relative to this note, it is a G sharp. relative to this note, it is an A flat. And you'll see that this, what is the other notes before and after? That's right, A and B. So let's start from A. Relative to A, this note is sharpened. So A sharp. Relative to B, this note is flattened. So B flat. And those are the black notes. And you can see that each black note has two names. But don't forget that even white notes can be called flats or sharps. Like I said, B is also C flat because relative to C, this note is flattened. And another example is E. E is also F flat because relative to F, this note is flattened. If I'm at F and I move a half step back, I get E. Alright? Similarly, I can even call F E sharp because if I'm at E and I move a half step up, I get F. And like I said, a sharp is when you move something up by a half step. So by moving E up by a half step, I am sharpening it to get E sharp. I provided some helpful resources down below to help you digest the material we just covered. Number one is a lesson summary that goes through the list of things that I have taught during today's lesson. Number two are two printables, a PDF of a keyboard on which you can write down the names of the notes so that you can practice and stick it on your bedroom wall so that it's the first thing you see when you wake up. There's also another printable where the names of the notes are already typed onto the keyboard in case you are feeling too lazy to write them down. And lastly, when you feel like you are acquainted with the material enough, I've provided a little test that you can take. And I encourage you to try and score 100% in this test because these foundations are extremely important for the journey ahead. So take it and take it and take it until you get 100%. So let me know if you like the video. Send me a thumbs up, send me a positive comment in the comment box. Tell your friends, click the bell. If you have any advice, just send in the comment box, I will reply. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you.